Welcome, everybody, to Fusion Marketing. It's all about interconnecting traditional, digital, and social media, hosted by yours truly, Donna Newman of Summa Social. And I'm with one of my favorite guests, Lon Safko, author of the Amazon bestseller, The Fusion Marketing Bible. And as many of you know me and my personality, one of my most fun activities at Summa Social is offering educational webinars to our clients and our Facebook fans. And today is no different. If you want to tweet or post on Facebook about this webinar, you can use that hashtag down in the bottom left-hand corner, #Fusion Marketing, and hopefully we'll have a bunch of good insights that you'll want to share this webinar with your friends now or once you have the recording. And we'll be posting this webinar live tomorrow, and you'll get a link in case you want to refer back to any ideas and refresh or share it. Now, here's what we're going to learn in our next hour together. First, simple strategies to easily fuse the three of those diagrams, the traditional, the digital, and the social media, into one effective marketing plan. And I promise you, this subject seems a little overwhelming, but with Lon's insight, you'll end our time together feeling totally reassured that you're either on the right track or you know exactly how to get there. Then, the pitfalls to avoid. And it largely depends on who your target audience is here and what marketing tool you're using to call them to action. And then real life examples to spark engagement. Because I don't know about you, but I learn best when I see examples. And Lon is fabulous at this. He has packed this webinar so you can model the examples and make them your own. And then next, plenty of time for Q&A. Oh, and feel free to type your questions into the box as we go along. We'll just save the answers for the end. Plus, you, yes, you, could win your very own copy of the Fusion Marketing Bible with one of those coveted Safko marketing wheels. So be sure and stick around till the very end. Early in my career, I worked in the marketing department for an internationally renowned heart surgeon, Dr. Dietrich, and just before we launched every big marketing project, he would always caution us with these words. He'd say, Donna, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Meaning, as you start your marketing campaign, be it traditional, digital, or social media, there are always 4 core objectives that will help you achieve your company's main goal within that campaign. And at Summa Social, it's what we refer to as design so your brand stands out. Invite your targeted audience, engage to stay top of mind with clients and targeted prospects, and then convert, which really begins by building relationships to gain customers, repeat customers, and even raving referrals. So we're going to give you enough strategy and support in this webinar that you can get started even later today if you want. But we'll always show you how you can continue to receive this support beyond this webinar. And if you've ever been on one of Summa Social's webinars, you know that my number one goal is to truly give you immense value, whether you work with us at a higher level or even buy one of Lon's books. So I promise you, in the next 60 minutes, you will learn simple strategies that make your overall marketing campaigns more effective. So this is where you buckle up your seatbelts and you get your pens ready for my friend Lon Safko. Lon has definitely cracked the code on helping you understand what the heck is fusion marketing for all of its advantages. And I guarantee you it's definitely more than you ever thought it was, such as the blogging, the brochures, the packaging, the microblogging, the customer service, warranty, television, telephone, events, catalogs, social networks, business cards, marketing and PR, presentations, coupons, and there's probably even more, Lon. But bottom line, we want you to take this webinar and really think fusion marketing, it's just 3 things fully integrated. It's traditional, it's digital marketing, and it's social media marketing. And together, they can simply accomplish your end goal of more revenue faster than if you keep these campaigns separate. Then you're going to get excited. You're going to try some of these strategies and be a believer that fusion marketing can really work, yes, for your business. And that's why I asked Lon to join, because those possibilities can get you results. And everything that Lon will be sharing with you today can be found either in text or in full illustration in his newest book, which, remember, we're giving away at the end of our time together. So Lon, take it away.
So hi, Donna. It's great to be here. I just love you guys. I love working with Summa, and I just got to say again, what an amazing job you guys did on my Facebook page. I wrote the
Thank you.
Social Media Bible, the 800-page book on social media, but you know what? You took my Facebook completely to another level. So thank you for that. And I'm really glad to be here sharing Fusion Marketing today. This here is just a couple of the things that I've done in the past. This is a little bit of a bio. And the reason I put this up first is because I want to let you know that, yeah, I'm a best-selling author. Both of these books hit best-selling status. Social Media Bible hit #1. Fusion's up to #3 already, which is kind of cool on Amazon. But more importantly, I'm a small business person, and I care about marketing from a small business perspective. I'm currently CEO of 3 different companies. One company I actually have partners in. It's a California C Corporation. So I not only have a responsibility to the companies, to myself, but also to my partners to make sure that everything I'm doing is kind of cutting edge. Next slide, please. So what you're about to see here, Fusion Marketing, is really, I found it astounding because I accidentally kind of invented this new form of marketing. And Fusion Marketing, believe it or not, is actually covered right now, the concept, under a patent pending. So if you can imagine inventing a new type of marketing and then having it covered by a patent, which that still amazes me that it's a new form of marketing. Next, please. So the reason I put that up there is I just want you to see it is pretty good stuff. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is advertising, what we're currently doing. We're all familiar with traditional marketing. We've all done traditional marketing. And there's this saying that's been going around for years and years. It says, I know that half of my advertising isn't working. I just don't know which half. And everybody thinks that Ogilvy, the big advertising agency out of Madison Avenue in New York, actually said that. Hit the button. But actually, it was Lord Leverhulme. Yeah, it rolls right off your tongue, doesn't it? He was the founder. Him and his bro founded Lever Brothers. So next. So he actually was the one that said that. And you know, no truer words are spoken. We do our advertising. We spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of time, a lot of resources. We toss it out there, and really, the only thing that we do to identify whether or not it's effective is we watch revenue, but we really don't know where the revenue comes from. So that's the first thing that I want you to start thinking about as we go through this presentation is how can we identify what advertising is working, what advertising isn't working, stop doing what doesn't work, and incorporate the things that do. Now, the other thing about all marketing, and we'll just start with traditional because most people can wrap their brains around just traditional, is it's difficult to think of more than one tool at a time. For example, if you're preparing for a trade show, you are not going to launch a direct mail campaign. And if you're in the middle of a direct mail campaign, there is no way you're going to start a radio campaign. So too often, many of us as marketing people, we focus really just on one tool at a time because it's just too complicated to look at the big picture. So that's also part of what Fusion Marketing is going to do is we're going to take this very complicated, this gigantic picture of all the different tools that we can actually accomplish, tools that we can use to generate revenue, and we're going to put them in a way that they become comprehensible so that we can kind of see them all in one image. Next slide, please. I want to talk also to set the stage is a little bit about the evolution of marketing. And no, I'm not going to go through all 6,000 years of marketing, but I do want to point out that for 6,000 years, up until the advent of social media marketing, we've been doing one type of marketing. That's called push marketing. And what that means is that we push a message out and we wait for revenues, we wait for sales, and if we get sales, we pretty much leave that message alone and we don't make any changes to it. And then when we start to see that sales are dropping off, well, we know that it must be our marketing message, so we change it and we push it back out. And that's the only thing. Think about it. all of our messages are one way. It's not like social media with two-way communication. And we really never took the time to listen to our customers. We just continually bombard them with push marketing. The other part of this that I want you to realize is that as we develop new forms of communication, the very next thing that happens is marketing people figure out how to use that form of communication to market. And let me give you a couple examples. In the middle of the 15th century, Gutenberg invented the printing press and movable type. And the reason that he did that is to reproduce the Holy Bible. And up until that point, every Bible had to be handwritten, hand illustrated by a bunch of monks. It was extremely time consuming, which made the Holy Bible an extremely expensive book. Think about it. The only people that could own a Bible up until the middle of the 15th century were kings and queens and only the most wealthy. So he figured out really the assembly line or the mass production of the Holy Bible. Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I am willing to bet anything on this next statement. As soon as Gutenberg printed an entire room full of Bibles, he had a warehouse full of these mass-produced Bibles, I guarantee the second thing that he printed was a marketing piece on how to buy his Bibles and why he had the best ones and why they were cost effective. He had to turn into a marketer. There's an old saying that goes, if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. If you don't know marketing and you build a better mousetrap, you'll end up with more dead mice. And that's not where we're going with this. We have got to make sure that everything that we do, every effort that we put forth on our company, especially in marketing, converts to revenue. Now, if you look at through the rest of this list, I mean, think about it. When the telephone was invented, what did we do? Even to this day, you know when the phone goes off in the middle of your dinner, it's going to be a telemarketer. And radio. I love this story of the first commercial radio station in New York. They were testing the tower. It was the tower was put up on the Empire State Building, and they were trying to see how far out into New Jersey the radio would actually broadcast and could be received. And some people owned radios at the time. And there was a guy sitting behind the microphone in the NBC studios in Rockefeller Center, and he was going testing 1, 2, 3. By the way, I wish I had copyrighted that because I'd be a very wealthy man right now if I copyrighted testing 1, 2, 3. And eventually the guy got tired of saying that because there was a guy driving around in a car all around New Jersey trying to see how far away he can get before he lost the signal. And the guy in the studio got bored, so he picked up a newspaper and actually just started reading the articles out loud into the microphone. People picked it up, and it was the first newscast. They wanted more of it, and eventually, in order to pay this guy to do this, they had to find a sponsor. So they started reading the ads out of the newspaper. I mean, isn't that clever? We invent a form of communication, and almost instantly it turns into a marketing tool. And of course, the same thing happened with television. Everybody saw the television and says, oh my gosh, we could actually demonstrate our product. People could see us using this product. And then, of course, the internet comes along, and we start doing e-commerce and then social media. So think about this idea of communication, and remember that the technology that we had 6,000 years ago to communicate was cupped hands. We put our hands over our mouth and we shouted, "Buy our goats." So it's logical to see that when social media, even though it was invented to be social, came out, it was inevitable that social media was going to be used for marketing. Next slide, Donna. Now, what I'd like to do is kind of take you on a little journey, literally, of the story of how this all kind of came to be. I was working with the CEO of a company, and he had worked for some Fortune 500 companies, and he understood marketing, especially traditional marketing, because he'd been in the business for over 30 years. And he invited me to breakfast and asked me, could I please teach him social media? So I thought, okay, well, it's an 800-page book. I can't eat that much breakfast, but I'll give it a shot. So we got together, and I started going through the 20 major categories of social media marketing. And I was 10 minutes into it, and I totally lost this guy. The lights were on, nobody was home, and I finally said to him, hey, what's going on? He says, well, you know what? I'm not an audio learner. I'm more of a visual learner. Could you create an image of social media so that I could see it in one big picture? And I said, I can't. I said, the problem is that a lot of people have tried to create images of social media. And the best thing they came up with is this stupid looking peacock multicolored wheel as it goes around with a bunch of random tools placed on it. And I said, you know what, that's useless. And I said, I've never seen a good image of social media, and I wasn't able to create one because I wanted to put one on the cover of my book. But I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take this on as a challenge, and I'll try to create one. So I went back to my office, and I drew up this diagram that you see in front of you. And it's not social media, it's traditional media. And I started with traditional because I figured if I can create an image that really displays not only traditional media, but shows it in kind of a big picture format, and in addition to that, also I can show relationships between the tools, he'll understand traditional because that's what he's done for the last 30 years, and making the transition between this image and the social media image would be easier, and maybe he'll understand social media more easily. Well, I created this image and I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is crappy. There's really nothing here. I did nothing, I didn't do any better than all of the other people that did these crazy peacock wheels with the social media tools around them. So I thought, okay, let's assume that there might be some relationship here. Let's assume that this might be a good idea. So I started with the assumption that everything that we do here, all of this traditional marketing, and this is the top 20 things that we've all done, is lead generation that leads to revenue. Lead generation that leads to revenue. Think about that. Everything that we do in marketing generates leads, leads turn into prospects, prospects turn into customers, customers generate revenue. Okay, so everything here has to become revenue. So I thought, let me take business cards. If you look at business cards, it's on the 830 kind of part of the wheel there. And I thought, that's probably the worst lead generation tool that we have. Business cards are kind of not so good. I mean, we got them. It's a stationary necessity. We hand them out kind of haphazardly. I can't believe how many people go to social events and business breakfasts and mixers and don't remember to bring business cards. I mean, that's about one of the stupidest things you can do, because people are receptive to business cards. Now, so business cards, they don't cost anything. You can actually get them printed for free online. There's companies that'll print like 500 business cards just to get your business. So the cost out of them is almost nothing. And I thought at first that the value was close to that. Then I realized that I've got business cards in a box that go all the way back to the mid-90s. Now, show of hands, come on, be honest here. How many people have business cards that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old? Come on. Okay, we've got the technology. I can see you, but you can't see me. So, by the way, we had 100% of the hands raised except for one person who kind of chickened out. All right, but you know what I'm talking about. So I'm looking at business cards and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I've got a background in social media. I wrote an 800-page book on social media. I probably know it better than anybody. And I know one thing for sure, in social media is about building relationships, because relationships build trust, and trust turns to revenue. Think about it. You never buy something from somebody that you don't trust. If you're going to buy a car and you go in and the car dealer gives you the skeevies, you're not going to buy a car from that person. Okay, so knowing that trust and relationships are critical in social media, I thought, wait a minute, what if I apply that to business cards? Think about it. Business cards are, from a social media perspective, are very powerful. They actually represent a relationship, a meeting, a physical face-to-face meeting, in such a way that we have touched one another, legally of course, but we touched one another. We shook hands. We spent time together. We trust each other. We found we had something in common by meeting at that particular place or event. So from that perspective, out of everything here, because everything else is push marketing, business cards truly is two-way communication built on a trusted relationship. So I'm thinking, okay, at this point, a couple of things pop out. First of all, I never looked at everything that you can do in traditional media in one image. This is comprehensible. I can comprehend this. I can look at all the different tools And I could see that, okay, if I don't want to do this, I can do that. And if I did this, I can do that. So it put it into one picture for me to more easily understand the entire landscape of traditional marketing. So that came out of this image. Okay, so that's good. The second thing is I looked at business cards completely different. But really what I was looking for was relationships. So I picked, now I'm not kidding, randomly, if you look at the 1130 position, you'll see coupons. I'm not particularly a big fan of coupons. I don't use them at the grocery store. Some people do. They even have TV shows about people that are obsessive compulsive about coupons. Okay, that's cool. So I picked coupons also because I felt that everything on this wheel, they probably had, to me, was one of the least value in generating leads, which convert to revenue. So then I thought, what is the relationship between business cards and coupons? And if you can see a relationship between business cards and coupons, more than likely you took a sharp blow to the head, because there is no relationship between the two. They're completely different. They're used for different purposes. They're different formats, different medias. But I thought, okay, what if there was a relationship? What if I forced a relationship? Then I thought, wait a minute. What if on this trusted business card that represents a physical relationship with another person, what if I put a QR barcode, a quick response barcode, on the back of my business card, so that when that person looked at my business card when they got back to the office, they shot their smartphone at it and a video came up and said, hey, you're holding my business card in your hand right now because you and I have met. If you would like, call the number on the front of the card and I'll give you 30 minutes of free consulting. It won't cost you anything. Now, do you think that that would have any effect whatsoever on your revenue? Well, of course it would. Of course. Trusted relationship, sense of urgency, reason to call, discount, something for free, what's in it for me. Wow. So now I'm thinking, if I can find relationship between a business card and a coupon, the two least effective tools that in the traditional marketing arsenal, maybe there's more hidden here. That's kind of cool, I thought. So then I thought, okay, let me pick brochures. Now you can look at the 1 o'clock position and you can see the word brochures. And we've all done brochures. Everybody's got one for their company, for their products and their services. And they're a lot of work and they got to be updated at once, twice, 3 times a year. Now, what's the relationship between business cards and brochures? Again, nothing. There is no relationship. And if you think you see one, you're probably going weird on me. But wait a minute. What if you assume there actually is? On your brochure, what if on your business card you put a QR barcode with your brochure right on the back of the on the business card? So what that means is you're holding my business card, you've met me, we like each other, you flip the card over, you point your phone at it, and now all of a sudden on the back of on your cell phone, from the back of the business card, my brochure pops up with all my products and services and pricing and a number that you could just tap on your phone to call me to get more information. So by connecting business cards and brochures, I found that I can leverage that relationship and increase revenue. Wow. I'm freaking out at this point. Click the button, Donna, please. I couldn't believe that connecting these interrelated things for no apparent reason, that I could get all of this additional value, this leveraging. And here's the cool thing. I'm not spending a cent more. I'm already doing coupons. I'm already doing business cards. So if I can significantly leverage my ability to market, increase my revenue simply by pairing up different items on this wheel, and I could do it absolutely free, holy moly. Now you're looking at an ROI that's infinite because the cost is zero, but yet the return is significantly better. So your ROI is infinite because you're dividing by zero. Okay, now this just by itself, this is fusion marketing. This is about fusing different things in marketing together to get one to leverage the other. Now, if I stopped here, you got to admit, it's pretty cool. And you can take anything that's on this wheel and connect it with anything else on the wheel. At first, you won't see a relationship, but eventually, if you give it just a little bit of time, you will. Trade shows. What if on my business card, I just had printed on my business card, hey, if you're in Atlanta on May 23rd, stop by booth 2034 and see a demo, and we'll give you a free gift. And I just had my business cards printed every 30 days. They're cheap enough, and you run a minimum order of 500. Whatever you don't use, you throw out, and you put whatever your monthly marketing campaign is right on the bottom of on the back of your business cards. Okay, now if that should be enough, but there's more. But wait, there's more. What if I reverse those connections? Let's go coupon a business card. What is the relationship of having information from a business card on a coupon? Well, there is a relationship. You know what a coupon is. It's standard. Sometimes it's got the product picture on it. It has a UPC, or Uniform Product Code, on it. Has an expiration date. And that's pretty much it. So what if your customer had a coupon from you, but instead of this generic useless information, what if there was a personal contact information on there? And it said right on the coupon, if you have any questions regarding this product in this coupon, please call Donna and your direct line was put on that coupon. Why not? So if someone is hesitant, for example, if you're Campbell's Soup and you want to know whether or not the coupon that you were holding for Campbell's vegetable soup had gluten in it, you could actually call and talk to somebody by name, not an 800 number, not some freaking website that you got to root through, but you can actually call and ask Donna, hey, does this product have gluten in it? Would that affect revenue? Yes, it would, in a positive way. What if on your brochure, instead of putting your web address, your main URL, and an 800 number, you actually put a person's name and their direct telephone or email on there? Would that encourage people to call you to ask more about your brochures and eventually convert from a prospect to a customer? And again, the answer is of course. So not only can I take everything that's on this wheel and connect it individually to everything else on the wheel, but I could actually reverse those connections and double the amount of effectiveness, the amount of leverage that I can get out of what I'm currently doing for no additional money. That's the power of fusion marketing. Next slide, please. So you could only imagine at this point, I couldn't wait to draw up this social media wheel, because I do social media. I understand it as well as anybody, if probably better than most, and I really wanted to see if there was anything that I can do to leverage my own social media, because I do both traditional and social and digital marketing for my business. I'm a professional speaker, so I do keynotes, I do workshops. I also have an e-commerce site. ExtremeDigitalMarketing.com is my e-commerce site, and the two books. So I'm looking at this image and I was like, okay, I'm not feeling the love here. I don't really see any connections. If you look at the 1130 position, there's something called virtual worlds. If you're not familiar with virtual worlds, you should go Google it. Second Life is the biggest virtual world on Earth. There's about 16.5 million people. 16.5 million people participating in Second Life. And it's kind of like being inside of a game. Everything is three-dimensional, and there's little cartoon critters, and they call them avatars. And it's really kind of a lot of fun, but it's also good for marketing because, for example, 253 of the Fortune 500 companies are actually represented in Second Life. If you want to go to the Dell computer building 24 hours a day, cartoon character will greet you, an avatar, ask you about your laptop needs, and the next morning Federal Express will deliver your brand new laptop to your house. If you want to order a pizza from Pizza Hut, you can do that. If you want to look at the new Mercedes-Benz, all of these big companies are in there. And I have a presence in there. I have a 2-story granite mansion on the ocean. The ground floor, I have 2 stores where I actually sell products. Think about that. Real products are being sold in a virtual store, a virtual building, in virtual kiosks, being purchased by virtual avatars, but the transaction is real, and so are the deposits. So also in there, I teach international classes. I teach college classes because I have a big screen TV, and I actually do this presentation in this cartoon world. And I hold executive meetings. I have executive vice presidents come in there because I want them to experience it, and we can talk. Okay, so virtual world's got a big investment in there. Now let's take web pages. That's over at about the 230 mark. Now, web pages and virtual worlds have nothing in common. Web pages, you access them through a browser and they sit on a server, and virtual worlds, you actually have something called a thin client, or a piece of software that runs this little game kind of a thing for you. No connection. But then I realized I have a strong marketing presence in both of these. So I went to my web page and I looked around. There was no mention whatsoever that I participate in Second Life in this virtual world. I never mentioned it because I never thought of it. So what I did is I went into my office in Second Life and I did a screen capture of my avatar standing in my office, and I went to each of my web pages and I put, hey, if you want to connect with Lon in Second Life, click here. You want to guess what happened? Within 24 hours, I saw a 400% increase in the traffic into my Second Life property. A 400% increase. OMG. I never thought of putting these together. There's no relationship, but just by leveraging one for the other, I couldn't wait to go back into Second Life to see how I was promoting myself as a keynote speaker, promoting the products, promoting the book websites. Nothing. I had nothing that mentioned any URLs or any websites anywhere in Second Life. So I put up this great big picture frame that says, go to extremedigitalmarketing.com, and with the purchase of any product, if you mention Second Life, I will give you a free $50 DVD of your choice. You want to guess what happened? 24 hours, 150% increase in traffic in my e-commerce website. I'm not kidding you. Just by making those connections. Click, Donna, just click once, please. So what happened was I started looking at, wow, am I using social networks to increase my email list? Am I using my email blasts to drive people to Twitter? Am I tweeting on Twitter that you should like me on Facebook? On Facebook, am I sending people over to my YouTube channel? On my YouTube channel, and am I watermarking it to drive people back to my web pages? On my web pages, do you see what I'm talking about? I never thought of making all of these interconnections. Once you look at social media, by the way, that's the 20 chapters in the Social Media Bible. That is the top 20 things in social media and digital media. Once you start looking at this big picture, first of all, it's easier to comprehend. And secondly, once you start interconnecting, you get this leverage just in social media that you could never have thought about because of the complexity of digital marketing. It's too complex to think of, but this tool here, which is called the Safko wheel, the starburst with the little tools around it, which if you buy the book, I will give you this marketing toolkit totally for free. Just go to lonsafko.com. But by interconnecting these, I'm leveraging what I'm currently doing. I'm getting as much as a 400% increase in effectiveness, and it costs me absolutely nothing because I'm already doing it. Next slide, please. And that's the power. That's the real power of Fusion Marketing. So now, again, you can imagine where I'm going to take this thing next. I want to integrate everything that you can do in traditional, everything that you can do in digital, everything you can do in social, put them all together on one Safko wheel, this one starburst, and see how many different items I can come up with. Because look at all this stuff. Imagine if you took everything on this wheel and connected it to everything else on this wheel. Donna, click, please. Now, what happened was I started making these connections, and I really quickly realized that my brain was starting to bleed. There was just no way that even with this Safko wheel and Fusion Marketing imagery here, I could not comprehend everything that I can do. And plus, I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I don't have the financial or the human resources to make every possible connection. If you made just one-way connections between everything that's top 20 traditional, top 20 digital, it would be an 8 with 47 zeros after it. That's the number of possible connections. And as you just saw, every one of those connections will significantly increase the effectiveness of your marketing. So on one hand, I was really happy because I'm thinking, there is a mathematical formula that tells me the amount of opportunity I have in front of me just simply by using this diagram and this Safko wheel. But on the other hand, there's just no way. My head would explode. Next slide, please. So I quickly realized that we have to do something else here, and we got to pare down. Now this gets back to the original question that I asked all of us, or statement, where half of my advertising isn't working, I just don't know which half. Well, we don't know which half because we don't measure it. So this is the only part of this entire presentation where you actually have to do a little bit of work, but it's not that much, and it's kind of fun, and it's really enlightening. Okay, so I went back to traditional because that's easy to measure, and I said, okay, if this is all the different kinds of traditional I can do, let's start figuring out how much money I'm spending on it and how many new customers it's generating. So what I want you to do is to create this wheel, download it from the book, and put just the traditional marketing that you did last year. Maybe you did some presentations, you went to a trade show, you did a brochure, maybe a direct mail piece. Just put those on the wheel. Or for now, just put them on a whiteboard, a yellow pad, an Excel spreadsheet. Just use those as headers, headings. And what I want you to then do is start writing down all of the costs associated with each one of these campaigns that you did last year. So let's say you did a direct mail piece. Typical direct mail piece, we've all done them. Show of hands, how many people here have done a direct mail piece? Come on, put up your hands, I can see. Okay, 100% of you, exactly. And I did too. You didn't see me, but I raised my hand. Okay, so direct mail. Well, you had to have somebody to write the copy and then check the copy, rewrite the copy, recheck the copy. Then you probably had to get a photographer or at least some clip art. And then you had to have somebody who actually did the graphic design, the layout of it. And then it went over to the printer and it had to go over in the right kind of a format or they won't recognize it. And then they sent you the proofs, and it was those Mylar things with the purple pencils, and you marked it all up, and then they printed it and it was wrong. There was still an error you didn't catch, so you printed them again. And if you did a direct mail piece, it was probably fairly expensive paper because you don't want to look cheesy. So you probably definitely did 4-color, possibly something like 100-pound silk, and maybe it was multiple page because you want to get the most bang for your stamp. So if it's multiple page, you might have stapled it or saddle stitched it. You definitely had to half fold it, tri-fold it, or fold it in some way. Then you had to stuff the envelopes. You had to pay for the envelopes. Then you had to get the mailing list. Well, you had to get the mailing list. Then you had to get the mailing label, print the mailing list on the mailing label. And then you had to get the mailing labels on the envelopes. Then you had to stuff the envelopes, seal the envelopes, and that's a chore. If you ever sealed the envelopes using your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth for 3 or 4 days. It's like a dog with peanut butter. And then you got to put the stamps on them, pay for the postage, take them. Okay, so those are just your hard costs. But what about your time? What about your staff's time? What about the people who worked on it? What are their hourly wage? How many hours did each of them put in? So multiply each of their hours by their hourly wage, and now you're starting to see it. It's not just the cost of the printing. It's all these people, including yourself. And then I want you to take each hourly rate, multiply it times 32%, and add that back in because that's your cost of indirects. That's your holidays and sick time and health insurance. So it comes out to about 32%. Oh, and then by the way, did you do it in the trunk of your car? Or did you do it in your office? Okay, well then you got to prorate some of your lease space for your office and your electricity and your telephone and your cell phone and your computer, your IT costs. So you know where I'm going with this. And you don't have to get all kind of crazy about it, but just put down as many expenses as you can and then total up each one of these columns. You following me on this? And if you got QuickBooks or Quicken, you can just run reports. It's not that hard. So now I know what campaigns I did last year and how much each cost. Now I want to know how many new customers did you get last year. That's easy to figure out. And let me tell you, my opinion is just do the number of sales, because even if a customer is a repeat customer, you had to work to get that customer to be a repeat customer. So you had to earn that sale. So let's just say the individual number of sales, and now prorate those in each of the columns. Your direct mail piece created X amount. What's going to happen is you're going to see that when you divide the number of customers into your expense for that campaign, you're going to come up with two numbers. One number is OMG, I'll never do that again, or OMG, that was really effective, I can't wait to do it again. Now, direct mail piece, the last time I did a direct mail piece was several years ago, and the reason I haven't done it, I think it's about 4 years. because I did the cost of customer acquisition. Cost me $15,000 to do a very targeted direct mail piece, and I picked up 4 customers that spent $30 each. You do the math. You can't make that up in volume. So I knew right away from my demographic I would never do a direct mail piece again. But you might be different. You have a different demographic. Click the button, please. So what that's going to show you is that some of these things are very effective and some of them aren't. The ones that are effective, you're going to keep doing, and the ones that are ineffective, you're going to stop doing them. But that gives you the opportunity to take those human resources, those financial resources, and now move them into doing a better job on traditional or adding the right kind of social. Next button, please. Now, you can't just throw in everything that you can do in social media. I mean, you could, but you would start to cry and you would eventually become hysterical and people from the state would have to come and take you away. It's just too much. So what I teach is something called the trinity of social media: blogging, microblogging, social networks. I can't get into this because I don't have the time, but if you read the book, you'll learn all about this. Each one of these are a chapter. Blogging sets you up as a perceived industry leader. It gives you Google juice and link love, which pushes you higher and higher on the search engines, which makes your website rise in Google above the competition. And then microblogging, for all intent and purposes, is Twitter, but there's other products similar to Twitter for different applications, so I don't want to just call it Twitter. And then social networks: Facebook, MySpace, all of the different social networks. Okay, so we're going to start with that. Next slide, please. Because if you do just those 3 things, you got pretty much 90% of everything you need to be doing in social media. So what happens is that when you take what worked for your company, now at this point, this wheel, the Safko wheel, has just allowed you to specifically design what works best for your company. So every one of these wheels look different for every single customer. Okay, so now we've got the best traditional. We know that it works. We've proven it. We've done the cost of customer acquisition. We've got the best social media. Now we start interconnecting. Next button, please. Now we have something that's manageable. When you do your direct mail piece, make sure you get your thumbs up to drive people to Facebook. On Facebook, you drive people to your print ads so that they can see your print ads. In your print ad, you mention the next trade show that you're going to be at. At your trade show, you collect business cards to increase your email list. On your email list, you tell people to pass it along and to sign up to follow you on Twitter. On Twitter, you tweet out links to your blogs. On your blogs, you allow people to download coupons. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see the power of this? We perfected the traditional tools specifically to your company. We added in the very best social media tools, and now we're using each of these to leverage each other so that you're maximizing the effectiveness of every one of them. And by the way, when you get to this stage, you've saved money by eliminating some of the traditional that didn't work. So think about that. Exponentially more effective, and you're actually spending less money. That is the additional power of fusion marketing. Okay, now I'm going to ask everybody to take a deep breath. You in the back, take a deep breath. No, I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. Take a deep breath. Donna, next slide. I want to show you something else. If that wasn't enough, I'm going to show you even more. There's something that I invented called fractal fusion marketing. Now, a fractal is an image that self-replicates, and what that means is you've seen them all. When you look at the image, it's a bunch of circles. It's kind of a geometric pattern, and when you zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, all of a sudden that image reappears. And then you take one of the circles and zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and it reappears. And it will do that indefinitely. You can also zoom out, and the pattern reproduces itself. When I'm talking about fractal fusion, I want to get down into the weeds. I want to go deeper and deeper into all of these marketing tools. Now, by the way, if you think that Facebook is a strategy, you're wrong. If you think that Twitter is a strategy, you're absolutely incorrect. If you think that any of the social network tools or any of the traditional tools are strategies, that's incorrect. These are simply tools. These are tools. Very important concept here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take one of the tools from my Safko wheel, the perfected wheel that we just worked with, and I'm going to put that in the center of the wheel, and I'm going to zoom in. So what that means is I'm going to pull, let's just pick one, social networks. Remember, it was one of the tools, and I throw that in the center. And then I say, what are the top 10 social networks in the world? If I'm going to add social networking to my business plan, my marketing plan for next year, if that's important to me, I should at least know what the top networks are so I can participate in them. Now, as you look around this wheel, I know for a fact, some of these you know, everyone is on Facebook. There's a billion people. It's got to include you. Nobody is on MySpace because MySpace is dead. No, it isn't. There's 200 million active members on MySpace. 200 million. You know what? If I had 200 million people coming to my website, I wouldn't think that that was dead at all. LinkedIn, we all know about. Is everybody on Ning? Okay, half of you. Plaxo? Anyone? No? Branch out, Friendster, Bebo, Orkut. Did you know that outside of the United States, Orkut is the largest social network, and only one beating it is Facebook? Orkut is the largest. It's older than Facebook, and it actually grew faster than Facebook in its initial years. Are you on it? Why not? With a couple of 100 million people, why aren't you there? Why don't you have a business profile there? It doesn't cost anything. So by using fractal fusion and taking one tool and just drilling in down on that one tool, now I'm able to see all the different social networks I need to participate in. Some I'm already on, some I'm on and I'm not actively pursuing them. And I got to be honest, an awful lot of these I've never even heard of. But if you're going to take social networks serious, this exercise will then help you get serious about social networks. Hit the button, please. Now, what about actually connecting them? Are you using Twitter to drive people to Facebook? On Facebook, are you asking people to connect with you on LinkedIn? On LinkedIn, are you driving people? So do you see where we're going? Not only can we use this as a fractal tool, but we can even interconnect just this one set of tools at this level. You with me? I know this is a lot, and I'm going to give you a couple of more of these. Next slide, please. Just hang in there with me. Okay, what if I fractalized it again? What if I went down another level? What if I just took Facebook off of the wheel and put it in the center of the wheel? And I made the entire wheel just about that one sub-tool, Facebook. Did you know that these are the top 15 or 16 things that you should be doing? The only one that's missing is working with Summa Social, because Summa Social understands everything that's on this wheel, and they could implement it in such a way that I've never seen done before. Okay, but if Facebook is important to you, how come you're not aware of all these different things that you can actually achieve? So we drilled down again into just the Facebook tool, and it gave us the opportunity to look at everything. And if you don't know what the top 20 things to do on Facebook, contact Summa Social or Google it. Top 10 things to do with Facebook for business. Next slide. So do you see the fractal allows you to just keep getting deeper and deeper. Now I want to give you one other example to kind of help you understand this concept. And that's, let's go back to customer service. Remember, it was just one tool on the wheel, and we put that in the center of the wheel. We call it customer service. And then we ask the question, what is the top 10 things, top 20 things that you can do for customer service? There it is. If customer service is important to you, and it should be, it is to me, what are the top things that you can do? There they are. And if you're not doing some of those, now you're aware of what you're doing, what you're doing effectively, what you're not doing effectively, and what you're not doing at all. Next click. And then what if we, at the fractal fusion level, I'm not kidding you here, what if we actually did fusion? What if we did fusion at this point? What if we actually fused all of the top things that you can do with Facebook and all the top things that you can do with customer service? And again, so if somebody comes to your Facebook page, you have your frequently asked questions to help them with customer service. When your customer service representative talks to the people on the telephone, you drive them over to the frequently asked questions on Facebook. Next slide. So you see how cool this is? And then, of course, you can interconnect everything. Next slide. Now, here's the last part. I promise I'm not going to fill your head with any more information. One of the toughest things is to understand what strategy, tactics, tools, goals, objectives. I thought I understood it because it's really important to me. If you actually look at my social media Bible title, it says social media Bible, tactics, tools, and strategies for business success. So I realized that in the Fusion Marketing Bible, I had better define strategy, objective, goals, or make it really simple. And what I quickly realized was when I started typing, okay, well, a strategy is when you get your goals and your objectives, and then there's the tools, and well, you got the objectives and then the tactic. I looked at what I typed and I thought for a moment I had a stroke. I was ready to call my wife, dial 911. It's not making sense, but I knew it, but I couldn't type it. So I looked it up on the internet. I went through business books. I even called a friend of mine who has a PhD in marketing, and he couldn't define it either. So here's the deal. I want to define it for you for the first time in the world in really simple terms and in terms of fusion marketing. First of all, strategy is not a thing to define. It's not a piece of this puzzle. It's the overall results. And I'll show you what I mean. Click the button, please. The first thing that you're going to need is objectives. Now, objectives and goals are exactly the same. So keep that in mind. Objective and goal is the same. We're going to get rid of the word goal. We're going to use objective. So what I want you to do is use this fusion marketing wheel, this Safko wheel, and I want you to come up with 3 or 5 solid objectives for what you want to do with your marketing plan next year. And that could be increase your email list because email marketing is extremely effective. It could be next year, you want to do more product presentations because you know demonstrations generate revenue really well. Maybe you want to attend more trade shows. You want to drive more people to your e-commerce site. Whatever it is, come up with 3 to 5 real solid objectives of what you would like to accomplish with your marketing next year. Next button, please. Now, we already developed the best tools. These are the best possible tools all the way around this wheel. And we know that they're the best tools because you created those tools for your company. Now, click the button, please. The tactics are how do you use each of those tools to achieve the objective in the center. How, if I got my email list, how am I going to use my web page to increase my email list? Well, on the top right-hand corner, you can have sign up for our newsletter or sign up for updates. And that way you capture email addresses. At presentations, you can have a drawing where put your card in this fishbowl and you win a free book or a free prize, which gives you access to more email lists. On your coupons, you can say right on the coupon, click this link or this QR barcode and sign up for updates and more of these free coupons. On your blog, you can say, if you like my blog, you're going to love my email updates. And all the way around the wheel. Every tool around this wheel can be used effectively for your company to achieve each one of those objectives. Agreed? Now, what if you had 3, 4, 5 of these objectives? You write down each objective, you write down the tool, and you write down how you're going to use that tool to achieve that objective. That's your tactic. Now, when you do that for all of your objectives, that entire program then becomes your 2013 strategy, marketing strategy. Does that make sense? For the first time ever, it makes sense to me, and it all gets back to the Safko wheel and this fusion marketing. Next slide, please. Now, what if I told you you can take each one of these wheels and you could interconnect them? The toolkit is designed in such a way that you can connect 3 or more of these wheels in such a way that you can actually look at them 3-dimensionally. So rather than making connections across a single wheel, you could now make connections through space to another wheel and see even additional. Next slide. I'm sorry, I promised I wasn't going to make your brain bleed, and I did. Donna, let me turn it back over to you, and let's see how many questions this will generate.
That's excellent. So for the next 10 minutes, or actually we're really tight on time, maybe 8 minutes, Lon would love to answer your questions about fusion marketing. So I encourage you to type those questions into the box. But the first question we have that is from Laura is, what do you think is the importance of video marketing?
Video marketing is extremely important. As human beings, subconsciously, we connect with other people visually. We do that, and you know as well as I do, if you have a choice of coming home after work and reading a book, listening to the radio, or watching TV, where do you gravitate? If you're going to connect with somebody, you want to see their facial expressions, you want to see what their eyebrows are doing, you want to hear the inflection in their voice. Video is by far the most effective form of communicating with another human being for psychological reasons, which explains the unbelievable power of YouTube. Every 60 seconds, 48 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube. So yes, let me strongly encourage you, keep the videos short, under 3 minutes, do lots of them, and get them everywhere, and you'll see the success. You will see the ROI.
Okay, another question is, how does digital marketing differ from social media marketing?
Awesome. I'm really glad you pointed that out, and I should have mentioned it in the presentation. The different, we all know traditional. It's push marketing, and it uses usually physical paper or possibly TV, radio, etc. Digital marketing was the next step. Digital marketing utilizes the internet, but it's still one way. It's not two-way communication. So some examples of that is SEO, SEM. Search engine optimization is critical if you want your website found, but it's kind of a digital form of marketing, but it doesn't provide communication with your customers. So that's search engine optimization. Search engine marketing is the same thing. RSS is the same thing. Gives you the ability, it's a tool that gives your customers the ability to connect with you, but it doesn't necessarily by itself provide for two-way communication. E-commerce is probably the biggest. You can go to my website and you can buy lots and lots of products at extremedigitalmarketing.com, but it is not designed as a tool for two-way interactive communication. So that's digital. And then, of course, when we look at social media marketing, that's full-blown two-way communication. That's two-way communication through Twitter, through wall postings on Facebook, through in-mails on LinkedIn, through email exchanges back and forth. So traditional is generally real live stuff. Digital is electronic but one-way communication, and social really is two-way communication.
Good response. And then finally, how does a startup business get started with fusion marketing? And this person's asking any step-by-step, like maybe the top tools that they should use if they're just getting ready to launch a widget or a service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know this is going to sound like it's self-promoting. The book is a simple book. The Social Media Bible is 800 pages, or now I've pared it down to 600 in the third edition. But Fusion Marketing is real easy reading. It's about 250 pages, and I'll take you step by step from what you've seen here. So really what the steps are the exact steps or slides that you've seen here. And the reason that those are the steps is because when you go through those steps, the Fusion Marketing will glean out just what best works for your company and your demographics. So the first step is start with all the stuff that you did last year, put it down around the wheel, do the cost of customer acquisition, see what was effective, get rid of this stuff that wasn't, and keep the stuff that was. Then with digital, start with the top 3 things. Blogging, microblogging, and social networks, but then also add in some important stuff. Facebook, working with Summa Social, very important. Add that into your marketing plan. Then just simply come up with some objectives, 3 or 4 objectives for next year, and then figure out how those tools can achieve those objectives. And then when you're done at that point, you have a custom tailor-made marketing plan that works specifically for your company.
Oh, that's good. That's step by step. That's something we can follow. Okay, so now, as we promised, Lon is generously giving away one of his autographed books, and I'm honestly a bit envious here of the winner because I've been eyeing that Safko wheel and thinking that would be pretty handy. So one of my Summa Social colleagues is actually drawing the name right now. So who's going to get that coveted copy of the Fusion Marketing Bible?
And it's autographed.
Yeah, that's very nice. Okay, it is Brady. Brady, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. Atchison. But anyway, Brady, inside of the chat box, I had gone ahead and put my email address. If you'll go in there and send me your name, your address, your phone number, so Lon can send you the book, that's Donna at summasocial.com, or call us at Summa Social at 480-314-4101. And Lon, a huge thanks for helping me give our clients and Facebook fans yet again another immense value. This was a value-packed hour, and my mind is chugging along, and I've got two things I already want to implement. So feel free to try some of Lon's new strategies, and know that if you've got any questions that you didn't get answered, come on over to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Summa Social, or just type in Summa Social into the Facebook search box. And thanks again, everyone, for joining us. And Lon, you are always a real privilege to spend time with.
Donna, thank you. I always love working with you guys. Good job.
Okay, so remember, the bumper sticker takeaway here is a fusion marketing approach can get you more revenue. And now that you've got the very plan that Lon uses to launch his own marketing products, you will be successful. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.